everybody. So we're back live again on this Monday morning, and there's lots going on this week, and I'm very grateful because I'm joined by the very lovely Sam Roberts. So I'm going to let Sam introduce himself in just a moment. But as I say, there's lots to cover this week, and we're going to be talking about all things AI related, and also why now is an exciting time to be an accountant. So Sam, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So my name's Sam Roberts. I'm a practice manager here at Aspen's Accountants. And yeah, delighted to be joined this morning on Rebecca's stream.
So we were just talking just before the live chat about a little bit about Sam's sort of background. So do you want to just delve into that a little bit and how you got to where you are today? And also, where are you located? So yeah, share all of that with us.
Yeah, of course. So I'm actually living in Leighton Buzzard, and I'm working in Caddington as it currently stands. And I'm, as I said before, a practice manager currently. My whole career started off when I got an apprenticeship based in Milton Keynes. Probably slightly different to most accountants, where I actually started off working for a law firm, not actually doing any law, so thankfully, working on the numbers side and in the finance department. And yeah, the first 3 years of my career, I basically started there, getting a bit of an insight as to the working world as such.
Yeah. So what was attractive to you about a career in bookkeeping and accounting then? What sort of drew you in initially?
Just numbers. I quite like numbers, quite like working with money, dealing with money. That's always been quite an interest to myself. And yeah, I just sort of wanted to find out a bit more. So sort of jumped straight in with an apprenticeship. Didn't finish my A levels, and then just went from there.
See, that's interesting because when I first started out in this industry, like 15, 16 years ago, the route that everybody was talking about at the time was about university, and that was sort of the way forward. Like you went to university, you did your A levels, you went to university, got your degree, and then you got into it and you studied like ACCA, CIMA, or ACA, and they were sort of, that was really the route that you were pushed down. There wasn't really an alternative option, but I actually didn't go to university myself. I went down the apprenticeship route, much to a lot of individuals' surprise, including my parents.
Yeah, similar vote for me as well. It's like, chose that route, and everyone's sort of thinking, "Are you sure?"
Yeah, and there was that. I guess at the time, I don't know if you had these same sort of conversations, but you're good at maths, you're good at this, you should go to university and take that opportunity up. But in my opinion, I wanted to go down the apprentice route because I wanted to learn on the job and also get paid at the same time, instead of doing the whole going to lessons and reading off a textbook. It really wasn't for me at that point. I'd already done that through the A levels, and I thought, I'm done with that now.
I was thinking the same. I was in the mind, I'm kind of done with studying. Don't really want to do much more. And did I know what was involved with studying for accountancy before that as well? So as much as I want to get away from it, I ended up going straight back into it after starting the role as well. So tried to get away, but couldn't fully with the studying part. But no, it's been good.
Yeah, and so then when you were thinking back then, when you were attracted to that sort of job role and the title with being good at maths, what, in your view at that time, was your typical view of an accountant? So if you were to sort of lay that out, what was your picture of what your future career was going to look like at that time?
Well, I actually did a week's work experience when I was about 16, and that was at your almost old school firm. It was dead silent, nothing going on. I couldn't wait for like my lunch hour where I could go out, see some friends who were also on work experience, and that was the best hour of the day. Is to go back after lunch, dead quiet again, not really much happening, just sort of inputting a few bits in the computer, and that's about it. Whereas now it's almost completely different. It's almost gone the opposite, where everywhere's sort of loud where you go into. Most firms, or a few of the firms that I've been in recently. So yeah, almost polar opposite from whenever that was, about 15 years ago or so.
Yeah. And it was the same for me. I when I first started out, I was in a firm in Liverpool. You'll hear the accent coming through. And it was very much, the entire office was silent. You had 50 people in one office on one floor, and you could hear a pin drop. No one really spoke. There wasn't really that I guess sense of engagement. You did your job. Say you looked forward to the lunch times and you got your day release to go to college, and it's really it, I guess. There wasn't opportunities like there are now. And so I'll ask you, what's the sort of landscape look like now for those coming into the industry wanting to be an accountant? Very, very different.
Yeah,
My own experience.
obviously, when I started, I just feel like there's so much more going on. See, tech's become a massive part of it as well. So whereas I say the computer was almost as extreme as what it got, now you've got so many apps out and around for clients to use, for us to engage with clients on as well. There's obviously AI is becoming more predominant, especially over the past few years, especially. And going forwards, it's just going to get further and further and evolve quicker and quicker. So yeah, there's so much to get involved with, so many exciting things happening.
But one thing I'd like to just touch on is I had a conversation just the other day around the use of AI, and in my own firm we're a very tech forward firm. We want to use the latest apps. We want to show clients if there's a better way that we're aware of doing something that's quicker or it's more streamlined, we want to use it. But there's pros and cons to that, because if you've got students who are coming into the industry who've never used that type of application before, or they've never sat there and completed a T account or double entry, it's really difficult to train them on both elements of this is the fundamental core of bookkeeping, and then this is how this is input into the system. Do you find that some students have a little bit of difficulty in translating what they've learned in the classroom to then inputting that onto the system and understanding the differences?
Yeah, I'd say there's been a bit to and fro on that front. I always remember in my first role in my apprenticeship, my manager told me that anyone could be a processor, but you need to understand what's actually going on in the background. And for some reason, that's just stuck in the back of my head. So I now relay that to everyone else or any apprentices or trainees that we end up having. And I just realised how important that actually is. If something does go wrong, you need to know how to fix it. So software like Xero's are amazing, but from a training perspective, it's actually quite hard to show someone exactly what's going on. I used an old software when I first moved into practice called VT Transaction, and I found that actually really, really good for training, because it almost gave you your full debit entry, knowing exactly what's what. And yeah, I found that really useful. So I think how the software's all changing, it is making it a bit harder for trainees to actually grasp what's actually going on in the background. But at the same time, it gives them a different perspective of it as well. So they come in with, say, that software ready to go.
And it's what's interesting to me is back when I'm showing my age, it was at the point where everybody was using Sage 50 desktop. That was like the go-to, which was great. It had its pros and cons even back then. But nowadays you've got so many different options. Like you've got Xero, QuickBooks, FreeAgent, FreshBooks, all of these different. I think Coconut's another one of them. All these different applications, and essentially, if you've got the knowledge there and you've already got the bookkeeping skills, and accounting skills, you can pretty much hop between each software. There's little elements that are different, like dashboards are different, or you find something in a different place.
You can definitely get by, can't you?
Yeah, you can get by. But then when I think of the students that I talk to, and they say, oh well, I don't like QuickBooks, or I don't want to use QuickBooks, or the other end, I don't want to use Xero. I've been trained on this piece of software over here. I think they're very lucky in some regard because they've got options. They're lucky because there's various free resources like YouTube now that wasn't available back when. That was all music when I first started. But you've got all of that, and in the classroom again, they give you multiple different software programs that are available like in the classroom, the study environment, which is great. But then the other end of that is students can get overwhelmed so fast because there are all these different software options available. And I know some firms go down the route of saying, well, we're a Xero only practice or a QuickBooks only practice. But where does your practice stand? Do you use different software, or have you chosen just the one software?
We do. So we use a combined sort of mix, really.
Mm.
So we've historically been a bit of an old school practice. We've been transitioning for like the past sort of few years. So I've not been fully part of that. Obviously, more recently for me.
Yeah.
But that's it. We've been transitioning to clients obviously more digital, a bit away from desktop, away from paper, which in itself is quite a huge task and quite a mindset shift more than anything actually for some of our clients. So it's knowing what you can do better and making sure you do it properly as well. It's all good almost throwing a software or an app at someone, but not showing them how to use it or to use it properly. It's almost pointless if you don't give them that education on top.
Yeah, and so what, in terms of the learning aspects for your students, are there any particular apps or training programs that you're using? In my firm, we use Loom to record videos that are all available online at any point, and we also use Scribe to document processes, because the way that I've sort of built up our process, I'm very much a process queen. I love having the controls, etc., in place, like a dummy's guide to everything. And it's like a step by step of where somebody could come in and they don't need to have any sort of knowledge really, and they can follow that process. And we actively encourage them to look at those process notes and say, oh, something's changed. Right, it's your job to amend it. If you've noticed it, you're amending it. So how do you go about that in your own firm?
So we're trying to get more to that almost automation point. Whereas we've got a few people here that have been here several years now. So they've got so much information stored up in here, which is amazing. But let's say if you want to look at you want to pass that job across to someone, it's hard to extract that information from someone else's head. So let's say process documentation is massive. So I think we used to call them like crib sheets at a previous firm. So that's like having that sort of knowledge base and almost help sheets as we've labeled them here, just help to give someone a bit of background, a bit of insight. So if they were to pick up a VAT return or a bookkeeping job, you've got a good base to actually go off, and then you might actually spot a good way to do it better even if someone else picks it up. So it's not almost like a set in stone process, but it's more of a guide. So.
Yeah, do you know what I find interesting as well? Because this sort of, I say the next generation again, I feel really old saying this, but they are very much, users of AI. They know how to use software. They catch on very quickly in most circumstances. And sometimes I find it interesting, somebody who's not come from a bookkeeping, accounting background, or who's just getting into their first career role, sometimes they can notice something on one of these pieces of software and say, actually, did you know it can do this? Or they've read something, or they watched something on YouTube. And I think, dang, yeah, let's put that into place. So on all levels now, we don't just look at those that have got the knowledge up here. It's getting everybody involved at every point. But sometimes, I don't know if you find this, but that can be difficult sometimes to get everybody engaged and everybody on board with, okay, I get that you're busy and I get that you've got all these different things going on, but we really need to nail this process down so that everybody knows what they're doing, how to do it. And if there's a better way, we share it across the board. And it's not, I think, back when I first started all those years ago, it was very much that a case that some people believed that knowledge was power, so they didn't share information, and it was almost gatekeeping to a degree. Whereas I go the other way, and I like to share all information and make sure that, again, everyone's on the same page and that we're trying to be proactive about it. But yeah, have you found that difficult in your experience?
I think it definitely can be. I think some people like to do certain jobs, or some people get accustomed to, I don't want to say comfortable, but being, that go-to point for certain things. So as a result, they try and keep and withhold some information, which actually, if they shared it, it's going to help them more than anything, and it's going to help everyone else as well. So it gives the chance for other people or trainees to actually have a look to do additional work, and it takes a bit of workload away from other people who might like doing a job, but could be done by someone potentially cheaper or better. and allows them to do other bits which they might not have thought about doing even. So yeah, it's definitely something to be aware of, I think. I think the other point that you said as well, and actually someone pointed out, did you know this software can do this? I think there's a lot of cases at the moment where, I said, everyone's been exposed to so many different softwares.
Yeah.
It's a case of not utilising it to its almost full potential. And people, I think, get a bit complacent when they've got something that, updates can happen, especially as updates happening now. It's, in 2 years' time, that could be a massive jump from when a firm or a sole director, for example, has taken on that bit of software. They've not almost kept up to date with it, and then not been able to utilize it to its full potential again. So I think that's massively important, that you're aware of any updates that are going on to make sure you're getting the best that you can out of that software.
But then that's really difficult, isn't it? Because in the day job, you're doing your day job. And then if you're, back when I was a client manager, I'd have my clients to look after, and then my students and staff to look after and to train those going through their studies. So it's almost like a knock-on domino effect. And sometimes it's easier to take what has been done and roll that forward. And you're not thinking about, oh, well, this has changed, or, I can look at this, etc. Because I think sometimes we're not, and I'm guilty of this as well, even though we try and keep up with everything, things change so fast sometimes,
especially at the moment.
You're just not, either you're not aware of it, you've skipped it because there's 1,000 emails in the inbox and you don't know which one to, what's a priority, what's actually a change that I can take use of, that, and just really, I guess, timing. So it's a big job for a firm of any size to have process notes and document everything, but then to try and keep up with new tools or new features in a piece of software, or looking at maybe that piece of software, it might not be as great a tool as it once was, and there might be something else that's a bit better. That time, energy, where's that going to come from?
No, exactly.
It's difficult.
That's obviously a job in itself, isn't it, as well? And it can be at some firms. I've seen some people have taken on individuals or even teams that are almost devoted to actually doing that and making sure software is utilised as best it can be, and stuff is being kept up to date. And even, let's say, the training of staff on actually using it and rolling it out. I don't know if you've had sort of champions before for certain softwares. I think that's used by everyone in having that a certain Zero champion, Dex champion, whoever. But it's definitely an important role, and let's say at least you've got someone who's sort of on the ball and can keep up to date. But it goes back to that point that we said about before. Actually, it's actually sharing that knowledge. Then it's not just keeping it to yourself and being right. It can do this, but I'm not going to tell no one about it.
No.
Spreading it around to the team, saying, right, we could be doing this better. This is what it now does, and this is how we're going to do it.
In terms of, I find that's a really good approach, because it gets, again, every team member involved. And I think the more responsibility you give to people and say, okay, yes, you've got to do this. Yes, you've got to champion this piece of software, which you're great at. You're using it. You're really good. But do it in your own way and put your personal stamp on it. I think that's the best way to get everybody in the team involved and sort of eradicate that barrier to wanting to change or update or keep on track with all of the latest tools and features. The other way, I think, what I've witnessed in practice is when somebody's saying, we need to do this, or this has to happen, and there's no sort of direction, or there's no team oomph about, again, getting to that point and sharing that knowledge. It can be really difficult to keep on track. The other thing I just wanted to mention was, in terms of, I've had a few conversations this last week, one with Ryan Percy, and also with Lee from the CPAA, all about where we think AI is going to be in the next 6 to 12 months. Now, AI to me is a buzzword, because you can break that down.
It's a bit like advisory to me, that word. It's a bit vague, and no one really knows what they're talking about to a degree.
No.
That what actually are you on about in part of this? So.
I'm always on a mission whenever I go to one of these events. So like the Darcy, Accountex, FAB, QuickBooks Connect, whatever it might be. I'm always keen to watch the AI talks, but sometimes I'm a bit disappointed because no one really showcases how they're using AI. They talk about it, but they don't say, this is the app process, or this links to here, or this can do this and save you time. And that's something that I'm trying to break down on the channel going forward. And I'm very open with my own app stack and how that integrates. But I'd be interested to know where you think the next sort of big area of AI is going to be, if there is going to be any in the next sort of 12 months, or maybe even up to the 5-year mark. What do you expect to see?
I think the big thing is almost your data capture. So I think where like Dexter's, and you've got Zero and HubDoc, they're great at capturing certain information, but it still seems to actually be quite limited. I think that's going to develop massively in the next year or two, especially when that's going to sort of feed through to actually making payments, and just automating that whole sort of invoicing process. Whether that takes 12 months or if it's going to be another 3 to 4 years potentially, almost anybody's guess, or maybe they know a bit more than we don't at the moment, some of those companies, but maybe they're holding it back. You never know.
I'll say one of the biggest disruptors at the moment, and who I'm keen to sort of support really, because I think they're doing just a fantastic job, is Apron. So their system at the moment, where you can authorize payments with clients, etc., and you can almost you can get payroll to a point where you're not entering all the manual details into the online banking, etc. It's all there, it's all encrypted, etc. That's a great streamlined process that they have built, and kudos to them because it's fantastic. But now they've just announced their data capture process. So similar to Dext in the way that it's capturing that information, but Apron do have that end process of the payments. So I'd be really keen to see where that goes. I know there's a beta, etc., going on at the moment, but I'd always wondered, going back 2 years even, why hadn't somebody created this? Got all of these data capture tools and the ability to make payments and authorize, etc., and that's all automated. Why is there not that end to end? But similarly, I guess on the sales side, what is there on that side? There doesn't seem to be very much. So I'd be keen to see if there's anything in that area. But I know that ChatGPT is used by quite a few accountants to write blog posts or to add elements on the website. But the issue with that is Google knows when data has been copied, and it can track, where there's copyright essentially across the board. And if everybody's using ChatGPT to create that wording, you're not going to rank very highly in terms of SEO on Google. It doesn't work that way. And also, I don't know if you've used ChatGPT in any format, but it's not very accurate. It's very generalized.
From what I've seen, I'd say it gives you that almost that base point. Well, I think it goes back to the point now with accountants where you need to be personable. And you definitely do with blogs and LinkedIn posts and so on and so on. But just having that almost human, and not quite an error, but like having something that actually makes you distinguishable and unique from someone else sort of creating something as well. If you're relying on ChatGPT, for example, just to create a blog for yourself, someone else from the other side of the country or around the corner might have exactly the same or very, very similar. So it's how to try and make it unique and personable is, I think, the big thing going in over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and we're always talking about the human firm. So again, even though we're very much, again, tech forward, we've, Will Farnell with his book on the human firm, we've integrated, and we always put people first. It's people before anything, really. But getting that across and getting that human touch and your stamp on anything, I think is going to be key, regardless of what AI tools you're going to be using in future. But the other thing I just want to mention, and I know we're already 25 minutes in, and this always happens, so just go over time.
A little bit, but
is just how important it is in order to, adapt and be pragmatic. And do you really think that those that are not embracing AI in some form are going to be left behind? Or do you think that it, again, there's not going to be that many changes over the next 2 years, let's just say, maybe over a further span, 5 years to 10 years, that might be more applicable? Or what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I definitely think firms who haven't even taken up tech as much as so many others that have done, they are going to be left behind to a certain degree, just purely in terms of what services they can offer, and again, almost that personal approach. I think going forwards, even firms that have, it's so important that they keep up to date to make sure they're staying ahead or keeping pace with other firms that keep adopting. So I think it's going to be a huge impact over the next couple of years. And as things do develop and change so much, it's just going to compound. So if you're not looking at technology as part of an accounting firm, then I think it's really, really important that it's being done.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. So just to finish your note then, so out of interest, obviously we've spoken about where you're based and what you do, but what does the firm do? Is there a particular area of expertise or specialism that you look at in terms of clients that you support?
So we're very much a small, very general practice. We seem to have a slight sort of niche for sort of property, which is always quite interesting. There's always lots going on around property, which is quite fun.
Yeah.
So we do tend to get a lot of property leads come our way. So that's always a bit of a bonus for us. But yeah, that's it. We quite like keeping it fairly general. We're not closed off to a certain industry necessarily. But yeah, it keeps everyone sort of on their toes as well, which is good. And from a training perspective, it's pretty amazing. So you can get exposure to all sorts. Whether it be just with CS contractors, or if it is property related, and if it's Bob the Builder down the road, who knows? But from a general practice point, we've not necessarily niched down, and we seem to be growing, so it's already good.
So then, if anybody wants to get in contact with you after this, so anyone who's in business or even students or any other professionals, how can they get hold of you? What's the best place to do that?
Best place is generally just to pick up the phone and give us a call. We're actually in the process of looking to update our website, so hopefully that's going to come towards the back end of this year. But even on social medias, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, and we've really started sort of ramping that up sort of this year, and more to come on that later this year. So it's quite an exciting time for us as we're growing and building up that following. It's really good.
Oh, well, I'll definitely give you a follow. I'm on TikTok and obviously YouTube and LinkedIn, so I'll find you on there. And what we'll do is we'll pop your links into the comment section so that people can find you after this. But other than that, I'm going to end it there because, as I say, we always go over time. But it's been absolutely lovely to feature you on here.
Great to speak to you.
Thank you for your time, Sam. It's been amazing. So I will end it there, and I'll catch you all in the group. Take care.